misinterpreted seriously. So I'd rather it comes from you guys. Wale ndio wamesema. So they're on the menu. It's you guys who are, it's you guys who have said it. See Mimi. Sawa. I once went to a session near Vijana and then I said that and then everybody's like, so you are on the menu. I'm like, no guys, it's just an expression. Okay, I really want us to start off. The rest will join us as we go. I want to start by welcoming Trufena. So I know this is very last minute. Trufena is going to do a presentation. One thing with me, if you tell me you're good at singing, if you're good at singing in the shower, don't tell me you're good at singing. Because I have bad behavior where I call you in front of people. So Trufena, I don't think you're shy. Yeah? Okay, Karibu. She's going to do a short performance, then we get into the next session. Is that okay? Oh my days, is that okay? Yes. Thank you. Over to you. Yeah, please come up.
Good afternoon. So I'm a singer and I sing with my guitar. So without my guitar, because I don't have my guitar, I want to sing with you. Yeah, so first we'll do an icebreaker. So this song goes like this, and I would love to see every one of you singing. I'm training you right now. So, hit the road, plastic, don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, plastic, don't you come back no more. Hit the road, you can tap, and don't go off key. Hit the road, plastic, don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, plastic, don't you come back no more. Hear you say,
hit the road,
plastic, don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, plastic, don't you come back no more. Oh plastic, you do me so bad. You fill the earth with your endless waste. You choke the fish and all in the sea. You're really, really bad for the environment. Hit the road, plastic, don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, plastic, don't you come back no more. Hear you say, don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, plastic, don't you come back no more. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you very much. Hit the road, plastic, don't you? Imba tu na sauti yenye Mungu amekupatia. Stop overdoing, eh? Wachana na, don't you come back? Do it again, my dear. Don't you come back? Okay, umesikia hiyo sauti. Now sing in your natural voice. Hit the road, plastic. Apana, guys. Your sauti. Hit the road, plastic. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. I can't do it. I told you guys I sing in the shower, so I'm gonna stick to the shower. I think we are ready for the next panel discussion. Confirm, team? Okay. So over to the serious stuff now. I wish, where are you going? Instructions. Our first session today in the morning, the speaker said personal branding. Do you guys remember such a thing? Okay, sawa? Okay, guys. We're back to the fourth session. This session is going to talk about climate financing, climate loss, issues around loss, damage, and accountability. So in this session, we're looking forward to exploring how climate finance mechanisms can be strengthened to support vulnerable communities, address escalating loss and damage from climate-induced disasters, and ensure transparent, accountable use of funds. Then the discussions thereafter will emphasize on the urgency of operationalization, operationalization, okay, of the loss and damage fund established under COP28, enhancing direct access for local actors and integrating accountability frameworks that ensure financing translates into measurable resilience and justice for those most affected by climate change. So all those big terms, all that jargon, basically, we are talking about where is the money. And to help us have this amazing discussion is Miss Catherine Karaoke, so you can now come. Yes, Miss Catherine sits with the International Center for Humanitarian Affairs. She's such a serious person. She loves policy, vitu zinaitwa frameworks, you know, all those jargons. She's the lady, sorry. Joining us, I think, is Dr. Olufunso Somorin. Is he in the room or joining us virtually? Zachary? Okay. And then from AFDB, is he here? Okay. Okay. Family Group Foundation, we have John Waimiri, who serves as the Executive Director. And then we have from FAO, Dr. Tekla Munanie Mutia, the Technical Lead for Environment and Climate Change. And lastly, in this panel, we have our very own DRR and Catch Voucher Assistance Manager. His name is Mr. Peter Murgor. I think I'll leave it to you. I don't know if the panel is here. Please confirm if you're joining us online. Murgor, are you on call? Oh, my. Oh, I apologize. I think there's been a change in panel. Has it? Oh, then I am very, very sorry. Allow me to pass it on to Catherine. I think you have the updated list. Oh, okay, fantastic. To do the introduction. My sincere apologies. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Cecilia. Good afternoon, all, and welcome to the fourth panel, which will be focusing on climate finance, loss and damage, as well as accountability. So there has been a change of panel, and I am guided that we will be having one of our panelists from an organization that is called, We Don't Have the Time. It is an organization from Sweden, and the panelist is known as Adam Wallen, and I understand that he's joining us virtually, so maybe we can confirm that he's there. We will also be having Peter Murgor from the Kenya Red Cross Society, who is also joining us virtually. And then we are also being joined by Dr. Tekla Munanie Mutia from FAO Kenya. So thank you all, and thank you, Dr. Munanie, for joining us. If you can allow us to just dive right in. As I've mentioned, this session is going to be looking at climate finance, loss and damage, as well as accountability. And this session will be focusing on one of the most urgent questions of our time, which is how climate financing can effectively reach those who are most affected, and how it can strengthen resilience and uphold transparency in the use of funds. So I will direct my first question to Dr. Munanie. Thank you so much for joining us today. Dr. Munanie, FAO has been instrumental in supporting rural livelihoods. How can climate finance mechanisms be tailored to ensure smallholder farmers in pastoralist communities in Kenya have direct access to the loss and damage fund? I mean, of course, especially in drought-prone regions.
Thank you so much. Apologies, I have a cold for the heavy voice. My name is Dr. Tekla Mutia, and I'd just like to start that at the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, our role and our business is to ensure that there's food security, reduced malnutrition, and also to promote sustainable, these days, climate-smart agriculture practices. So we work directly with smallholder communities through the government. So our main role basically is to resource mobilize. We are an accredited entity, and I'm proud to say we are also one of the greatest, one of the accredited entities of the Green Climate Fund. So we were able to receive the first set of funding for adaptation preparedness in the country, where we had a chance to work directly with the smallholder farmers and communities. To go to your question, how we can tailor these instruments to the communities, one thing is insurance. Insurance is critical because you realize first that smallholder farmers are not aware the fund is existing, how to access the fund, and how to protect themselves of risks. So at FAO, what we are doing is we are promoting early warning. So we are using machine learning AI predictions to be able to predict crop yield performance and livestock performance. And this information is critical because it can be able to advise in terms of damages that are anticipated and financing. And therefore, it can be critical to ensure that there's blended financing, especially with the private sector, co-financing, so that smallholder farmers can access products such as green microloans, insurance, and drought recovery credits, of course with the loss and damage fund as a sort of guarantee. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I would want to hear a humanitarian perspective on this, and therefore I'll take the next question to Mr. Murgor. Mr. Murgor, in humanitarian response settings, how can Kenya Red Cross ensure that climate-induced loss and damage financing reaches the most vulnerable, particularly displaced populations and informal settlements? Okay, what I can do as we wait for Mr. Murgor is, again, direct my question to Adam Wallen. Okay. Mr. Adam Wallen, we understand that your organization has been a key player in mobilizing climate finance across the continent. And my question for you is how the organization is supporting Kenya and other East African countries to strengthen access to predictable and equitable climate finance, particularly for locally led adaptation and anticipatory action initiatives targeting vulnerable communities.
Right, thank you for having me. So, as some of you might not know, Within the Time, we are a media platform for climate solutions. So we essentially work globally to promote and to support climate solutions everywhere. And a big part of that is our work in Kenya and Eastern Africa, where we have a few colleagues who work actively with promoting and supporting supporting climate solutions in communities there. So we're of course very happy to be working with, among others, the Kenyan Red Cross and Switch Media with this. But I think our most important role is in the climate financing is helping alleviate that the financing actually gets to Africa. Because of course, once you have funding, there are all these great mechanisms in place, which we heard the other panelists talk about, to actually get the money to the right people. But the financing has to be provided as well into these funds. And I think COP30 is a really important event, but a very important lever for that. There needs to be decision-making in these high-level events to essentially make sure that governments from around the world support and contribute to these green climate funds and loss and damage funds and all of these other institutions that exist to give climate financing to the most vulnerable. So I think that is where we will try to play the most part. We'll be going to COP30 next week in Brazil, and we'll be interviewing and covering a lot of the discussions that are happening there. And I think it's really important for us to highlight all of these adaptation and mitigation efforts that are happening around the world and make sure that high-level people at these meetings are aware of them and understand the importance of contributing with financing to make sure that they can happen.
Thank you so much for that contribution. I see that our other panelist has joined us. This is Peter Murgor from Kenya Red Cross Society. And my question to you, Mr. Murgor, is in humanitarian response settings, how can Kenya Red Cross ensure that climate-induced loss and damage financing reaches the most vulnerable people, particularly displaced populations and informal settlements?
Thank you very much, Catherine, and good afternoon, everyone. Apologies, I think I was on already when you were beginning the session, but I had challenges with my device, and I'm glad it's sorted. So to your question, and that is the inherent way of which Kenya Red Cross operates. We work with communities, and we are driving this agenda on locally led climate action, where we work with communities to empower them to, first of all, develop their actions, the climate actions. And there's that conversation also of inclusion and making sure no one is left behind, including the marginalized and those who've been displaced by climate-induced hazards. So how do we make sure that these funds reach them? It's by, first of all, creating awareness, helping them to be able to have a voice to advocate to the necessary government mechanisms and to hold them accountable for these funds, to be able to know what has been allocated, how they can access these funds, and how they can even develop action plans that are fundable with these funding mechanisms on climate. So these are basically some of the entry points into that, because when communities understand, first of all, that this exists, and then they have structures within which that they can be able to access them, then that makes it possible to ensure that these funds reach the lowest level. Finally, is also the legal environment, the policy framework, the enabling environment for funding mechanisms. As you know, government cannot fund things without anchoring it on policy. So this framework and the funding, when they exist, I am aware that in this COP, there is the focus to try and even launch this funding. And one of the key things they'll be discussed on how these ones will develop results and the operational framework on how they will be able to operate. So it's also to enable community be able to be compliant, understand the frameworks, the tools, and everything that comes along with it, so that they qualify to access these funds as and when they're available. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Murgor. That's a powerful reminder of how humanitarian action and climate finance can work hand in hand to protect those who are most at risk. Dr. Monanye, Thank you for your previous points also that have highlighted to us how tailoring financial mechanisms for farmers and pastoralists bring out the heart of community level impact. My other question for you revolves around accountability. And we know that accountability is a major pillar to this conversation that we're having here. What accountability frameworks has FAO Kenya, or FAO in general, found most effective in translating climate finance into measurable resilience outcomes for food systems and rural livelihoods?
Thank you, Catherine. So at FAO Kenya, we always want to ensure that we are accountable for every shilling that we get to reduce vulnerability to these things. So we have a robust results-based monitoring, evaluation, and adaptation learning framework. So in this, we usually take into account all inputs that go into projects related to climate finance, outputs, and outcomes. So if we are going to do cash transfers to reduce vulnerability to drought, we have to show this in a measurable way at the end. Are we going to have reduced livestock mortalities and so forth? So that is one way we have a strong M&E system that tracks this. Number two is we base all our activities and all our projects on safeguards. We have environment and social safeguards. So all projects that are climate finance have to be subjected to an environmental and social evaluation, and then we develop management plans for the same, and compliance audits are usually routinely done to ensure there's conformity and transparency. This is very important when you're reporting to donors. Lastly, I want to say that at FAO we have received a fund from the Green Climate Fund, still to promote adaptation, planning, and readiness in Kenya. So one of the activities that we are going to do for Kenya is to develop a strong M&E system for tracking all adaptation actions countrywide. At the moment, people say we are doing this and that in different counties, but we cannot translate this to measurable outcomes, especially when it comes to reporting to our NDCs, our contribution. So this is something that FAO will support in putting into the country. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Those practical accountability mechanisms are definitely essential for ensuring that every dollar is in climate financing actually drives the results that it's intended to, drive. I will direct my next question to Mr. Murger. Perhaps you could bring this home from a humanitarian perspective. What role should local humanitarian actors play in shaping governance and transparency of climate finance flows, and how can COP30 commitments reinforce this accountability?
Thank you very much, Kath. And that brings it home that we all have a role to play. There's the financing body, there are the funding mechanisms, but then there are the players themselves. And I see you brought it home to the local bodies, the CSOs, the NGOs, the community level actors. And what role can they play to ensure governance is there? We need to have them, first of all, just like my panelist has said about having frameworks and tools in place. How well do we understand these tools? And we advocate and have the leadership structures, the governing bodies and structures integrated and embedded in the work we do. And then how do we develop mechanisms in our institutions, both the NGOs, the CSOs, the community level structures, that is a governing body that looks at these financing models, has for example, a steering group that will give clear direction on how the funding is managed. And people and communities can understand that this is how the leadership is, this is how segregation of duties, roles, and functions are, this is where we account to. Because if you look at the current COP, the main discussion majorly, even as the funding is launched, is about how will we operationalize these funds? How will we play within the rules? How will they interplay with other climate mechanisms? So developing those governance structures and then also disseminating them and then integrating them with the existing governance mechanisms at the community level, at the sub-county level, county level, to the national level, having that interplay clearly brought out, understood, and then also, how do we as stakeholders, humanitarian actors, the likes of we who are on this call, FAO, ourselves, the Red Cross, Red Crescent movement, and then all other bodies plug into that with interoperable mechanisms that are not duplicating, that are not overlapping, but are enabling that governance and accountability framework. That will make it possible at the grassroots level to have a governance structure that is iterative. Kath? Did you hear me, Kath? I handed it back to you with that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Murgar, for also reminding us that local humanitarian actors must not only implement, but also shape accountability agenda in climate finance. My next question will go to Adam. And with the loss and damage fund with the loss and damage fund set to become operational following COP28, what mechanisms or frameworks does the organization envision to ensure that financing reaches local actors efficiently, promotes transparency, and translates into tangible resilience outcomes for climate-affected populations in Kenya and the wider Horn of Africa region?
Thank you. Well, I mean, I think the main problem with the loss and damage fund, as it's kind of agreed upon, is that there are no clear agreements on how to actually finance the fund and how to actually, I mean, I think the fund itself is, it exists, it is launched, and it is set to do what it's supposed to do. Of course, there needs to be more transparency around how are these funds going to be used and what are the mechanisms to make sure that they are used for the right things. But the issue from the COP process is that so far the fund just isn't being, there isn't enough money being funneled into the fund yet. And that's kind of the main problem. That's something that we've been, at Within the Time, we've been pushing for a long time, since COP26 actually, that there's still more money going into fossil fuel subsidies than it is going into loss and damage. So I think one of the most important levers we can use as a global community is to funnel money, instead of putting it into subsidizing the fossil fuels, we should put them into financing loss and damage, of course, but also financing the solutions that actually bring climate emissions down. So I think one of the most important things for climate financing is that mitigation and adaptation can't be viewed as two separate buckets. They need to be seen as two integral pieces of the same coin. And I think a lot of world leaders need to be reminded that mitigation and adaptation is not an either or. It is something that both needs to be financed at an equal rate, and both need to be financed very, very rapidly. So I think that's the most important piece for the COP process to consider going into Brazil.
Thank you so much. Of course, this also highlights the need for structured frameworks and clarity in how funds flow to local actors. And this is a very, very important point that you have weighed in. Back to you, Dr. Monani. You earlier spoke about blended financing. And my question to you around this is, as the global community moves towards operationalizing the loss and damage fund, in your opinion, what role can philanthropic as well as private sector foundations play in ensuring that climate financing is inclusive, transparent, and that it effectively reaches grassroots initiatives that address both immediate losses and long-term adaptation needs?
Thank you. I think, as has been previously said, to make this process inclusive, we have to involve the communities from the onset. They have to be aware that this fund is existing. Access to the fund has to be made simple. And I said one way of this is having products like insurance, risk insurance products, and also drought credit facilities, drought compensation credit facilities. So then this can come up sort of in a co-financing way. If the private sector is able to quickly access this fund, then they can use this fund as a guarantee and be able to issue out these easy products then to the smallholder farmers. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contributions to these discussions as a panelist. I would want to open up these discussions to any questions and comments that may be there on this discussion. There's a question at the back.
Hello, everyone. Hello. My name is George. I'm the chairperson and founder of an organization called Green Warriors 237. It is an environmental organization all the way from Kiambu. My question is, and goes to Mogo, Adam, and everyone who is here. How do you identify the organization from the community that deals with climate change and environment, especially those who are not aware of how to reach out to the sponsors and well-wishers? Secondly, I come from an industrial town, which is Thika. The carbon emission is very high. Our ozone air is very affected by carbon emission. Our soil is very spoiled by the chemicals that are coming from those industries. My question is, what can we do? What can we do to aid the most vulnerable and the community members? Yet, they're the least polluters. Yet, the industries, they're the most affecting our ozone air. They're the most affecting our environment. And what can we do to this community to be activists, or to bring the activism to the community and to make sure that these industries, despite giving the employment to almost like 80% to the people of that area, what can they do to aid by giving back to the community through CSR? How can you help these community members to know how they're supposed to be given back by these industries? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Edwin Ongombe. I am from We Don't Have Time. Adam is my colleague. And I have a question to Ms. Tekla. And the question is, because I've had you in connection with the government, I want to know, how do we ensure that the financing opportunities that the government gives don't go directly to some organizations, but are given to the right people in the society? Because we know we have this financing from the government about things to do with climate change and environmental conservation, but they only go to a chosen few, people who know who know who. How do we cut the red tape, reduce the burden of paperwork, and make sure that these finances get to the right group, the most vulnerable, the group on the ground, not the ones that just sit in the offices with suits and nice chairs and coffee, but the groups that are working on the ground. How do we ensure that?
Thank you again. My question comes, how will the community get skilled if the community needs to start farming? For example, if a community is farming in these green vegetables or wall vegetable farming, and the community needs to change from there to the chicken farming. Again, then another question comes to, which ways will the community get the funding? Through which way? Through the bank or through the FEO? I'm confused. Help us, the communities.
Thank you so much for those questions. As we wait to take the next batch of questions, perhaps we can give our panelists an opportunity to first tackle these 3 questions, then we can move over to the other questions. So we had the first question directed to Peter Murgor. The second question is directed to you, Dr. Monanye. And then the last question on communities and their access to the funding, we can have tackled by Adam. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I really appreciate the participants' questions, because this is the crux of the matter and shows really how switched on we are on these conversations. In the interest of time, I'll just go straight to answering them. How to identify local level climate organizations, because I think that was the first question, that how do we identify this and how will we know them and how then can we provide funds to them? Let me talk about how Red Cross works. And I know in the disaster risk reduction body of practice, at the community level, we have the Community Managed Disaster Response Committee. And now on climate, we have community level climate change committees that are working on this. Besides that, at the stakeholder level, be it at the community level, at the sub-county level, at the county level, in the coordination forums, we do what is called stakeholder mapping, be able to understand who is doing what where. And it's in that case that we talk about what I began with when I was talking on my first question that was addressed to me on localizing the climate fund. So when we work with these bodies, one of the things that we do is to support them to be able to develop fundable proposals and to understand the frameworks. If you remember, the conversation that has been in this panel was how to localize. I remember Kate was asking about how do we ensure that there exist frameworks or policies, mechanisms that can ensure this funding reaches the community. So that is how we identify them. Let me restrict myself to that answer so that at least I allow the other panelists to talk. And on the carbon emissions, spot on, my brother, spot on. This is the reality of the challenges we have. We are at a tension of anthropogenic activities, the scratch for dwindling land resource, the urbanization that comes in, livelihoods. All these are at crossroads and are the tensions that we have to face holistically that contribute to the issue of pollution and emissions, carbon emissions. The conversation is how do we reduce the carbon footprint? And it's a very not complex as such, but it needs a holistic ecosystem approach whereby we look at, first of all, the problem, and then we look at the players, and then awareness creation, empowering communities, advocacy, the resolve for us ourselves as the polluters, not to carry out those actions that pollute the environment and contribute towards reducing the carbon footprint. So for us to achieve this, it calls for a whole systemic approach, right from action plans that are geared towards reducing the carbon footprint, even into making awareness and resolve and commitment from you and me as a community member, and then back to the structures, and then also having enabling environment of policy and laws that are enabled and are enforced. So it's a whole compendium, and this conversation can be carried on, but that is just one of the ways that we can be able to address this. And I think there was this question, before I leave it back to the question that was asked to Dr. Monanye, was the issue of how do we ensure that it's the right people without discriminating. I will close by mentioning that all of us who are familiar with the Climate Fund, and Kathy, I don't know if this is a question, you can help me check in the room. How many of us are familiar with the word GETSI? Maybe just by a show of hands, GETSI. How many of us know the acronym GEDSI? I don't know, Kat, I'm just seeing you. I'm not able to see the room for now, but I don't know how many people raised their hands. But to deliver this point, sorry, go ahead, Kat. We wait for the
No, I had seen around 3 hands. I'm not sure if I'm, wrong. Yes, about 3 hands were up.
About 3 hands were up. So we can clearly see the Climate Fund is keen, even as you're applying, to ensure that you are clearly defining how you will have G for gender, E for equity, D for disability, SI for social inclusion, so that when you are developing your Climate Fund approaches, you are also demonstrating that you are considerate of gender, you are ensuring equity, you are ensuring that disability is taken into account, and social inclusion, meaning all kinds of people groups with the different approaches are taken into account so that we are able to reach everyone with this fund. I'll stop here, Kathy, and give it back to you for the next panelists to respond to the other questions. And I'm happy to support in responding any other if it's left out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Murgar, for that powerful response. The second question was to you, Dr. Monanye.
Thank you. The question which has been tackled actually is how we ensure that we reach our target beneficiaries or participants. I think I like how Mugo put it, that it has to be GESI. We have to use that GESI angle where we ensure that there's a gender aspect in the project, equality, inclusion of everybody else who is at the margin. So at FAO, yes, we work with government, but we have this phrase that we say we don't want to leave anyone behind. So we have transparent mechanisms. We subscribe also to our safeguards, and within our safeguards, there's the issue of gender inclusion, indigenous people, and people with disabilities. Everybody is included there. We also have feedback mechanisms for each project that we are implementing, and we have a disclosure page online for every project. So we encourage a lot of feedback from what everyone is saying within our project areas, and then we take action towards that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that response. The third question was directed to you, Adam.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question, as it was a while ago it was asked? I don't exactly remember what it was. Sorry.
The third question, and I hope I do it justice, but we can always have it regurgitated, was revolving around how we ensure communities have access to funding.
Right. Well, I won't claim to have any expertise in that subject, since I am at our headquarters in Sweden. We don't really, we don't work directly with your communities. We work indirectly with them through our partnerships with organizations who are on the ground. So I'm not going to claim any expertise in this subject, but of course I think it's very important from the financer's standpoint, right? From the organizations and people who are providing the funding, I think it's really important that the money in the beginning is earmarked towards, if not specific solutions, but at least very clearly marked for what are they supposed to go towards. So what kind of community-based efforts are they supposed to be funding? I think it's very important to have that transparency and intent from the very beginning. So I suppose that's kind of the hat I can throw into the circle, so to speak, about this subject.
Could I chime in a bit, Kathy?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
And Adams, thank you. And I think also there's the bit where the lady, the elderly lady, the last one who spoke, also was keen to understand the flow of funds. I think if I got it right, she wanted to understand, does it go to government, does it go to an organization, or does it go to the communities directly? And I saw that bit of developing skills for the communities. I think that was also the question that was bordered to it. And for her sake, and I know she's asking in terms of many in the community, yes, there is initiatives, because Climate Fund is not a standalone. There are a number of activities that need to be built into that to make the Climate Funds function. And I'm glad that you're wondering about the skills. So one of the things that we do as Kenya Red Cross, and even many humanitarian actors, I'm sure FAO does the same, is to work with communities to empower them. What does empowering mean? Giving them the capability, first of all, to be able to do a skill set analysis from a livelihoods perspective or socioeconomic inclusion aspect and angle. And then from that socioeconomic angle and aspect comes in the skills and capabilities and mapping out. And then from there, when you're developing your climate action plans, is when now we can come up with a model of how these climate actions should be funded, linked with the prospective funding institutions. And as to the question of how the money flows, this is really dependent on project to project. There are cases whereby a funding mechanism will require an institution to stand in, but with the localization agenda taking to the fore, by and by we are seeing more and more funding being channeled directly to CBOs or community-based organizations for that matter, and the community-level institutions that have demonstrated accountability mechanisms, frameworks, and structures that can handle funding, and that then allows that. So, Madam, I think what I can say is it really is dependent on how ready your community-based organization is in terms of frameworks, policies, structures to receive funding, or even through organizations. Both are possible. Thank you, and back to you, Kathy.
Thank you very much. I seem to remember that there were more questions that we can take.
Hi, everyone. My name is Patrick Kiaria. I'm the head of We Don't Have Time Africa office, where the headquarter office for We Don't Have Time is here in Kenya. Adam is my colleague, and I'm glad Edwin is still here, and so many partners we met here. Thank you for bringing this dialogue or discussion in the table, because we are listening that, and we know we'll act, either before even we go to COP30. Okay, my question is to Dr. Munania and Mr. Mugo. How can digital climate engagement platforms and innovation-driven partnership help amplify success stories like yours to inspire faster global action? Thank you. And be partners of us. We amplify your voice more. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. You directed it to two panelists. Dr. Munania, with your kind permission, I'd want to give this question to you. Thank you.
Sorry, just to get the question right, how can digital platforms promote? Okay. At FAO, I'll give practical examples. We have developed something called Kiamis. I don't know if this is new to people or it's obvious news. Kiamis is the Kenya Integrated Agricultural Management Information System. This we developed through CEDA funding through CALRO. So basically, this is a platform that has enabled us to register farmers within the country. We realized that there are over 6 million farmers in Kenya. So once we register the farmers, we are able to, through CALRO, to provide early warning signals through messaging, short messaging to the farmers. So they just have to put in a certain code, register, and wherever you are, you get locally tailored climate information, which will help you during the planting season. I think, yeah. And maybe to add on that, we are also currently working on a model. It's called the loss and damage model for early warning. And essentially what we are doing, we are working with CALRO, and we are marshalling 10-year-old data from now back in time on livestock production and performance, and also crop yields. Coupling this with disaster data, so we are also working with the Kenya Met Department to be able to predict crop and livestock performance over the next few months. So we are currently running a pilot project in 4 counties, agropastoral counties, which of course you know are very vulnerable. And if this is able to work to show us, to give us information for preparedness, then we scale it up nationally to other counties. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving us insight as to how FAO is actually using digital platforms to amplify success stories. Also, then I would want Murgar to please weigh in on the same question in terms of how Kenya Red Cross may be using digital platforms to amplify their success stories on all the discussions that we're having here today.
Thank you very much. And I like when I hear we don't have time. It pushes us to want to take action, yeah, because we don't have time. But yeah, and allow me, Catherine, to just, in the interest of time, to merge it with a question I'm seeing on the chat, because it seems to close the same. Just directly, the question was, how are current climate accountability systems ensuring that learning and adaptation actually occur across all levels, from policymakers to local communities? So I like the banner that is behind you, switch. Let me start there. I think that has been a very powerful platform where we are digitally transmitting and sharing information. As we speak right now, this live event, the hybrid event, is digitally being transmitted through Switch TV, for example, Switch Digital Media. We are leveraging technology and social media platforms that we have discovered is a very powerful tool. How do we leverage real-time messaging through Twitter or X, for that matter? How do we use the X community? How do we use webinars? How do we use a hybrid event like this one? This is just a very practical example on how we are using to harnessing learning and bringing people together to share information, to collaborate, and to synergize. And if you already see it, by us being here today, partnerships are being forged, they are being strengthened, information is being shared, learning is being cascaded. By the way, we can be honest, we are realizing as a movement we've not done a very good job, Red Cross, in terms of telling the story of what we do, but we are increasingly becoming aware where CAT sits in the policy unit, trying to help us to develop policy briefs, and then publishing publications, at the ICHA unit, documenting and developing pieces and stories on how we can show even case studies and sharing learnings, and then converting them into digitally consumable material. Yeah, not only are they documentations, but digitally consumable materials that can be shared easily in different platforms. And I must say at this point, this is where we reach out our hands to you. And I like the way the question was asked, because it was asked in a manner like, how can we all come together to share what we have, the learnings, the experiences, the expertise, and the things we are seeing on the ground together. So, Kathy, we can only build this further. We can only create a repository and continue to create even platforms for shared learnings. We have strengthened the anticipatory action technical working group, and I know, Kathy, you also even have the capacity of talking more about that and the work you're doing, particularly around enabling us to share lessons and learnings. And as I conclude, how climate accountability systems are ensuring learning and adaptation, that's why I was bringing it, is to use our capability to convene, our capability to advocate, our expertise to engage policymakers and to develop these materials in different platforms so that now we reinforce and cascade, disseminate where we need to disseminate, develop where we need to develop, and then operationalize where we need to operationalize all these mechanisms. Because like Richard has rightly said, it's one thing to just have the reporting channels and outcomes, but operationalizing them is another story altogether. Back to you, Kathy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Murgo, for that. I understand that there are more questions, Cecilia? No? That is it for the questions. I'd want to thank you all for the excellent questions and also to our panelists for the very insightful responses to these questions. Of course, it's very clear from the discussions that we've had here today is that while challenges remain, the momentum towards more inclusive, transparent, and community-driven climate finance is growing stronger. So before we bring this panel session to an end, or rather as we bring it to an end, I would want to invite our panelists to give some closing remarks. We can start with you, Dr. Monane.
Thank you for this opportunity. For me, I think the message is climate finance should now move from just making pledges to predictions. It should move to simple access of the funding, which is locally driven by community actions at the grassroots level. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Adam.
Yeah, I'd like to reiterate that message, of course, and I think another important step for climate finance is for national parties at meetings like the COP to stop kind of waiting for each other. We need clear commitments and we need the funding to start flowing, and that can only happen if countries start taking action. So that's we need the money to start flowing, basically.
Thank you very much. Peter Murgo.
Thank you very much. At this opportune time, even building what from Adam has said is, of course, moving from conversation to practice and operations is even as the money starts flowing, we need to be at the table, and not just at the table, but how do we harness and bring forward the capabilities, the partnerships, the networks that we have, how do we turn them into tangible resource funding mechanisms, and how can we demonstrate our capability to accountably manage these resources and channel them to the grassroots and to the communities where it matters most, so that climate finance can finance locally led climate actions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This brings us to the end of our session on climate finance, loss and damage, as well as accountability. I would like to say a big thank you to our panelists for your insights and in this conversation that we've had here today. Please join me in giving them a very hearty clap. Asanteni sana.
Thank you very much. Please remain behind. Please don't log off, Adam. Just a minute for the group photo, just that yours will be on the projector, but yeah. Oh, remember to smile. Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Please let's clap for our panel. As we think about this, I hope I made this joke earlier, that I hope all of you have listened keenly, Okay, okay. So I hope all of you have listened keenly. I started by saying, I hope, Bahero is already laughing. So I don't run my jokes past people because I tend not to be funny. But this one I tried it with Bahero, so let's hope you will laugh. Thank you very much, Kathy. The joke was earlier that session was on climate financing, and for me, I always listen carefully. And if I were you, I hope you have listened carefully, just in case Mugor, Adam, Daktari, and Kathy will reveal to us where the money actually goes. Yeah? You didn't get the joke? Aww. Bad delivery. Don't worry, you'll get it next time. Anyways.
You had me laughing, Cecilia.
This is a dad joke, and the fact that you've gotten it and the room hasn't affirms my thoughts. Anyways, please, we are coming towards the end of the day, and we're here to talk about another fun conversation. I love conversations around innovations, partnerships, global climate commitments. And so this last session, we are looking forward to explore how emerging technologies, anticipatory action frameworks, and inclusive collaborations between governments, humanitarian actors, and the private sector can accelerate climate resilience and adaptation. By this, by showcasing practical examples from Kenya and beyond, the discussions will highlight how innovation-driven partnerships are translating global climate pledges into local action, ensuring that no community is left behind in the journey towards a just, sustainable, and climate-resilient future. To start us off, we will listen keenly to a very beautiful lady. Her name is Dr. Margaret Wanjohi Naserian Gakami. Whoa, just a long name. She's the founder of Gakami Mustard Seed Foundation. She'll start us off, and then we'll be joined up here with a lovely panel, and with the moderator being Susan Rodriguez, the managing director, Revitalize Conservation. My apologies, conservation. So a warm welcome to Dr. Margaret Wanjohi Naserian Gakami. Karibu sana. I don't know if I should do that, but I shouldn't, right? Nitashikwa. Apologies, Julius. I don't look good in black and white. Karibu sana.
I'll begin by asking a question to the audience. When you were growing up, would you be able to tell or predict the patterns in terms of weather and all that? Hands up. Yes. Tell me, how were you able to do that?
My social could tell me, like on 20th Masujade, which is Masujade nowadays, it was Kenyatta Day, rain might come from heaven at that particular time. But nowadays, the pattern changed. We don't know yesterday how it will be or how tomorrow will be. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Somebody else? Yes, darling.
For me, I will know it through my teachers, the science class. They will always tell you when the weather is cloudy, the weather is sunny, it's going to rain, and things like that.
Very good. Also, personally, when I was growing up, we could tell that the rains are about to come, and we were not wrong. We could even tell from the number of birds that will fly and flock, and we'll tell ourselves, now it's time for us to go back home because it's going to rain. But that predictability is no longer there. What does that tell us? It tells us that there is climate change, right? I come from Loitoktok, Kajiado County. From the month of May to the month of October is always very dry, to a point whereby our lands crack, to a point whereby farmers will take their livestock very far away in search of water and in search of food. But at the same time, immediately we have rains. On the same year, you hear of floods. Two crises, very extreme. What does that interpret to? Climate change is not coming. It's already here with us. Last week, I was in the village. I had taken seedlings for the community to plant. And when we were doing the exercise, one of my nieces told me, Auntie, when I plant this tree, as it grows, I'll also be growing. What did that tell me? It told me environmental conservation is not just for today. It is even for the future. For sustainable development to take place, environmental sustainability has to take place. With those few remarks, or opening remarks, our distinguished guests, colleagues, partners, and friends, I'm deeply honored to join you today at this important dialogue. Let me begin by thanking the Kenya Red Cross Society, the International Center for Humanitarian Affairs, and Switch Media for bringing us together. Your work gives us hope that future can be better prepared than past. My name, as my friend has said, is Dr. Margaret Gakami. I'm the founder and director, Gakami Mustard Seed Foundation, where we focus on 4 thematic areas. And my main area, which I love most, is the environmental conservation. We also do women and youth empowerment, capacity building, and community development. I'm also a commander of the Administration Police Service, the commander for Dagoretti South. You can tell the uniform. And from what I do on a daily basis, I'm able to tell the interactions and the link between security, development, and resilience. From a human phase of climate change is no longer a distant topic for the scientists. It is a crisis we see in our homes. It is a crisis we see in our neighborhoods. It is a crisis we see in our farms. According to the UN framework for the Convention for Climate Change, 3.6 billion people are affected by the climate change. In Kenya, the story is already here with us. We have seen droughts in Turkana. We have seen droughts in areas like Marsabit, where livestock are even wiped out completely. We have seen floods in Budalangi, in Garissa, and even in our city in Nairobi. Our homes are washed away by the floods. We have seen erratic rainfall in central and in eastern Kenya. This leaves farmers confused, not knowing when to plant, not knowing when to harvest. And behind every these statistics, there is a face to it. Like there is a mother maybe in Kitui who cannot be able to fend for his or her children because of the drought. We have a boda rider in Kisumu whose motorbike has washed away by the flood. A community in Kajiado that has been forced to relocate, not because of anything else, but because the land has become barren. As a security officer, I've seen families see the danger coming and we prepare. So that even if the danger will take place, it will have minimal or no effect because we were not caught unawares. But anticipation is not just about warnings, forecast, data, and all that. Trust is very important, especially when communities are involved. They will need to develop trust so that even the information that we give them, they can take it seriously and act on it. That trust is built through inclusion, communication, and respect for local knowledge. Let us therefore strengthen coordination between scientists and chiefs, between responders and local youth, between national systems and the people on the ground. That is how we turn warnings into action. We must also make sure our response is inclusive. This is, we consider our women, our children, persons with disabilities, and indigenous groups. These are the most category of the people who face the harsh effects of climate change. Empowering them is not charity, it is strategy. When women lead, they bring innovation. When youth are included, they bring energy. When local knowledge is respected, we found solutions that work. Inclusion is how we build real resilience. When every voice is heard and every hand is involved. As I close, as the world prepares for COP30 in Brazil, let us remember this truth. The global fight against climate change will only succeed if it starts at the local level. Resilience must begin in the places where people live, where people work, where people dream. In the informal settlements of Nairobi, in the dry villages of Turkana, and in the coastal villages of Kilifi, and every place where vulnerable meets courage. The climate crisis is global, but resilience is local. Let us move from reaction to preparation, from despair to determination, and from vulnerability to empowerment. And as we do, may we plant not only trees, but also seeds of hope, seeds that will grow into forests of resilience for generations to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Margaret. I move into revitalized conservation. And as I make this announcement, please, the moderator for the session, you are most welcome. So as we move to the last session of the day, please do not leave without a seedling to plant, because we started by saying we are more solution than speeches oriented as a team. The seeds are courtesy of Revitalize Conservation. Asanteni sana for the donation of the seedlings. Please nurture and grow your seedling. We look forward to seeing you next year with evidence that the donations didn't go to waste. And that seedling will be accompanied by a sisal bag, courtesy Scovia, courtesy of the sisal bag. Sorry. The sisal bag is courtesy of Scovia's team, who are the organizers, that is KCB Foundation, Kenya Red Cross, International Center for Humanitarian Affairs, last but not least, our media team, and key supporters for this, led by Madam Scovia here, Switch Media. So over to you, Madam, as you welcome your panel. Thank you.
I'm the MD of Revitalize Conservation, and we plant trees. And we plant, I'll just briefly explain what we do, and then I'll call the panelists up. We plant trees with school children because we believe they are the future custodians of this planet. And if we plant with children, and we plant with children as young as 3 years old, we are teaching them responsibility about trees and the environment. So this will really help them as they grow. 20 years from now, or 17 years from now, they are the ones who are going to help us with climate change. They are the ones who are going to be taking the bold steps wherever they are in whatever meeting. The other initiative we have is we plant edible forests with rural women. If we plant with them, they get food, so there's food security. At the same time, we are empowering the women to take their own, to economically empower them to take care of their own lives. Because when you empower a woman, you empower the whole community. And that is just our introduction. I would now like to call the panelists. I would like to call Charles Nyandero from Kenya Climate Ventures, Mohammed Bahero from KRCS, Dr. Isaac Kaula Green from Climate Africa Foundation. Please come up. Okay, I'll ask you to please introduce yourselves. Tell us what you do before we take it from there, please.
Thank you. My name is Charles Nyandero. I'm from Kenya Climate Ventures. So I think since morning we've had good discussions from a humanitarian perspective. I think it's now time to have a discussion from a private sector lens and see how private sector can contribute into climate change and climate finance. So Kenya Climate Ventures, we are an impact investment fund specialized in climate finance, which we are targeting early and growing SMEs that are coming up with solutions that contribute positively towards climate adaptation and mitigation. So we invest in 5 sectors, that is water sector, commercial agroforestry, renewable energy, agribusiness, and waste and circularity sector as the 5 key sectors that we put money in. So we identify solutions. I think I have to salute Dr. Margaret. She's brought in climate change in a very local language that everybody can understand. She's also brought in that solutions are available locally. So as Kenya Climate Ventures, we try to identify local solutions that can be able to transform and make our communities become more adaptive to the challenges of the climate that we are experiencing. We invest through instruments because we are a commercial fund. So we give debt facility, number 1. Number 2, we do what is called convertible note, and then we do what is called equity investment. Our approach to investment is to provide patient and catalytic capital because we are targeting very early stage innovations that are still new in the market, so we have to just walk with them the journey and be able to help them be able to grow. And in that regard, we provide them with very variable instruments of investment. Beyond giving money, we also do what we call capacity building or technical assistance to these SMEs to be able to again navigate risks, to be able to scale into a higher growth businesses that can be able to attract more capital in the market. Yeah, so we have been able to do a lot even from the humanitarians and marginalized areas like Turkana. Currently we have 3 portfolio companies. One is in clean cooking, where we are trying to support the local community to adapt improved cook stoves and move away from deforestations and cutting down trees for cooking. We've been able to implement hydroponics farming as an alternative way of farming away from the normal livestock keeping in the Asan region. Again, we've also supported a microfinance that is providing access to local working capital to the local communities in the refugee hosting areas and the Turkana region. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you comment?
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Mohammed Bahira Mohammed. I work with the International Center for Humanitarian Affairs. So ICHA is the Research and Learning Institute of the Kenya Red Cross. So from ICHA we have different sub-units. We have the Innovation Department, where I'm from. We have the Data Department. We have the Policy Department, Research Unit as well. And lastly, we also have the Climate Department. So to be biased, specifically from the Innovation Department, where I'm from, I support digital innovation. So we have the Digital Innovations Unit. Basically what we do, we pilot digital solutions like blockchain-based, AI-based or AI-powered solutions, and also IoT or Internet of Things powered solutions. Then also we have a drones unit. We have some certified pilots in that particular department or unit. I can see my colleague Swabira is there, you can just wave. So she's our certified drone pilot. So basically what we do with drones, we help map areas where they're prone to disasters, and also currently we are working in a project where we want to integrate artificial intelligence with drone mapping. Then also still under the Innovation Department, we have Innovation Fab Labs. So we have 2 physical Fab Labs. One is in Lamu and the other one is in Mombasa. So basically these are community-owned innovation Fab Labs, where the community innovators can just come in. We have an open door policy with their innovations or ideas, then we enable them. So we are more of like enablers. So we enable them with the skill sets, partnerships, linkages, and also funding if available. So we help them to prototype, pilot, and also be like sort of like a community entry point for them, because for a community innovator to get community acceptance needs organization they are really established or well known by the government and also the community. Then lastly, we also have systems innovation. So basically systems innovation, we focus on design thinking, human-centered design approaches, systems design approaches. And basically, the whole idea of systems innovation is to make sure when we are developing solutions, the community have been centered in that particular process of developing the solution and scaling it. So in a nutshell, that's what we do.
Thank you very much. I would like to put a question to everyone in the audience. I want to put the situation of Jerry. Let's just call her Jerry. Jerry has a half-acre plot. She's been planting maize and beans forever. And that is how she and her family survive. Now Jerry hears all these kinds of stories about sustainability. You can get a loan, you can start planting avocados, you can plant oranges, bananas, moringa, you can have cash crops. And then she asks herself the question, but I'm only Jerry. I don't have any security. I've heard that KCB don't lend to people like us. They also don't give charity to us. So Jerry is in a bit of a dilemma. I will tell you what Revitalize Conservation does, and then we'll speak to the panelists to see if there's any way they can help Jerry in the future. But what we do at Revitalize Conservation is we have an initiative called Gather and Grow, and it's just for rural women. Where we go, we've done 10 so far, where we go and meet women and we see if they have land. They must have a title deed, either in their name or their husband's name. Because the last thing we want to do is invest and then the land is taken away. So once we talk to Jerry and we see that Jerry, yes, she's determined, she would really like to plant these things and she would like to change her life. Because what we do then, we then say if Jerry qualifies, Jerry, you don't pay anything at all. But we will provide you with 200 windbreaker trees. We will provide you with 50 mangoes, 50 avocado, 50 moringa, and 50 pawpaw trees. We'll also give you the seeds for cash crops, because you don't have to wait 3 years to start getting avocado. In the meantime, this is called permaculture, but in the meantime, you can plant garlic, kienyeji vegetables, chilies, and we did our first one in October 2024 in Samburu. The women are now getting pawpaws. We have not yet got to avocados and mangoes because it's not yet 2 years. But those that we did we launched our Gather and Grow on the 8th of March 2025. And we did 10 shambas in Kiambu. We wanted them close by so that we can show donors or we can show people what the women are doing. The first 10, I will say, were sponsored not by any big organization, but were sponsored by 2 women. 2 women who are well-to-do, but felt they needed to give rural women a chance. Because if they gave them a chance, they would uplift them. They would feed their families, and they would uplift them in terms of economic and sustainability as well, because they would then have money. But this funding did not come from an organization. It came from women who believed in women. My question to the panelists, we're not going to have so many of those women around. How do we come to you, Charles, and ask you to support Jerry and all the other Jerrys around the country, be they Jerry, Nduta, whoever it is, Fatuma, whoever it is? How can your organization come in and make it possible for them to have an edible forest and change their lives so that they can thrive?
Okay, thank you. So what we appreciate is that, one, there are so many solutions based on the climate change effects, and there's so many solutions that are locally emerging that can support people like Jerry. And that's bring the discussion, how does impact investors like Kenya Climate Ventures come into the space to support people like Jerry, that probably they don't have collateral, they are probably the early stage businesses of the sort. So impact investors came into the market by realizing that they are innovations. They are people with solutions in the market, early stage solutions. But they lack what probably a conventional banker will call the bankability. Maybe they're not yet at the revenue level, maybe they don't have collateral, maybe the innovation is still very new that nobody has ever had in the market, so probably data to validate the information that she's providing has never been found. So that is how impact investors came into the space, where they'd be able to take risks, provide catalytic capital, just to come in for the first time in innovations that has never been before. An example, Njeri wants to adopt like climate smart agriculture, where she's bringing in issues like climate smart irrigation into her business, or probably bring in a technology for soil testing that will help her understand the level of nutrients that are required, so that at least she can know the right fertilizer that can be able, or she can always be able to use for production. Maybe Njeri wants to monitor the weather patterns so that at least she understands that the rain might delay, the rain will come early, or this is what might happen. So all these innovations are already coming into the market, but the funding has been a challenge. And that's why impact investors like Kenya Climate Ventures are coming to the space to be able to provide the catalytic, early risk-taking capital that will be able to now scale these technologies that can support people like Njeri and other smallholder farmers that are available everywhere to be able to continuously enhance their production. Again, if you go further into, like, let's say hydroponics farming is another innovative farming that we've been telling people that, like in the Asal region where there's a lot of droughts, because an example of that every time the drought comes in Kenya, we see the people from the Asal region losing a lot of livestock. But is there a solution that they can be able to adopt to be able to remain resilient? That is how we brought in hydroponics farming as a solution for them. That they can be able to grow crops year on, year round. They can be able to grow crops whether it rains or not, because hydroponics farming is an independent form of farming that is outside, dependent on the weather that is available locally. So that is how impact investors like KCV have been able to support the innovations and the solutions that are coming to the market to be able now to scale and make them readily available in the market.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mohammed, what do you have to tell us?
So from our end, we have two approaches that we can help this persona, Njeri. One is unstructured approach and the other one is structured approach. So for the unstructured approach, I reiterate with our approach within the Innovation Fab Labs, we have an open door policy. So Njeri could just walk in one of the Innovation Fab Labs or one of our offices within the 47 counties we have branches. And Njeri could share her idea to the personnel that are based at either maybe the Fab Labs. Then we will first try to understand Njeri in terms of her pain point and the community where she's from. Then we will try to empower Njeri in the aspect of using now systems innovations, like just try to make sure she understands the real cause of the problem that she would want to sort. Then through the systems innovations, we'll be able to empower her to define the problem statement and also empower her to now design innovative, sustainable solutions. Then within ICHA and Red Cross, we have a very huge pool of partners in different thematic areas. So if Njeri's problem statements aligns with maybe climate vulnerability, we have partners that support that, right? So we will try our very best to try to see how we can sort of help her to prototype her solution, link her with respective partners that could support her, and also give her some sort of like a platform to pitch to other partners. Like a good case study in Mombasa, we work closely with there's an organization called Swahili Port Hub Foundation. So Swahili Port Hub Foundation, every Thursday, they have an event called Pitching Thursday. So as much as we have empowered her in pitching skills, prototyping skills, innovative approaches skills, we now link her to organizations like Swahili Port Hub for her to pitch her idea. And during the Pitching Thursday, we have a pool of investors that would just hear her idea and support her. So that is the unstructured approach. The structured approach is within our Red Cross programs, we have specific programs or projects that are funded that may have some specific resources or budget lines that may support Njeri, right? So a good example is, as you're speaking, we have rolled out an AI in Climate Humanitarian Innovation Challenge, where community youth innovators just come together in a group, apply for that particular innovation challenge, then by the end of the day, they get mentorship. So last week we had 1 week mentorship in Taita, because the challenge is based in Taita. So 1 week mentorship in Taita, and we have partnered with an academia, Taita University. So there is academia in it, there is us, the NGO in it, then there is other partners who, like the funding partners. So for this particular case, British Red Cross is funding this. So that structured approach helps Njeri with her group to design a solution, get empowered from this consortium of partners. Then by the end of the day, she gets funding to prototype her solution. Then within the Red Cross programs, for the aspect of sustainability, we help her pilot her solution within the community. So we not only give her funding, but more of like work with her throughout that particular journey. Then by the end of the day, we sit and ask with Njeri and try to discuss like, for this particular solution of which we've invested in it, how are you helping the Red Cross with it? And our biggest win as Red Cross or ICHA is to see the community get empowered. So how is her solution empowering the community at large? Yeah.
Thank you very much. Just one last thing. You started off, Charles, by telling us that we are now looking to see how companies or other organizations can come into this climate conversation. we have left a very big part out. We have thousands and thousands of companies in Kenya, and they all have a CSR budget. That's a lot of money that's being left maybe on the table. How do you think we can tap into that money to help children plant more trees in schools and fruit trees so that they can continue to learn how to take care of the environment and be the future custodians, and at the same time have a positive impact on climate change? But those companies are not quite getting in. They may be planting trees. There are many that are planting but not growing trees. We have been to very many schools when we go, because what we do is we plant, we nurture, and we grow. And we teach the children to do that. And we have a tree planting event where they themselves speak about trees, they speak about mazingira, and they tell us how they make a pledge to look after their tree. And they also pray for their tree. So we're coming in with a more personal sort of approach. But what can we do with the thousands and thousands of companies that are out there that are not taking part? What would you do if you had the opportunity to engage them?
Okay, so I think when it comes to climate change, we are all vulnerable, and we have to, all of us must be available to take any small action that we can be able to take in our organizations. And that's why from Kenya Climate Ventures, our approach has been quite collaborative. And even if you see the way we've designed our fund is designed in a way that we are mobilizing capital from both philanthropic, private sector, and even public sector to pull into the fund that will help us now be able to reach out with this climate solution. So what we continue again is to participate in forums like this, where we have dialogue. We continue to sensitize people that yes, we are at a point that you are making money, but just focusing on making money alone, we have a big elephant in the room, that is climate change. So we have to change from doing business as usual to now focus on how we can have sustainable way of doing business by supporting initiatives like, beyond the money that you're making, can you support an initiative in maybe growing trees? Can you support an initiative maybe in waste management, where you support the local communities to aggregate wastes and then they're transferred into a place where they can be able to be recycled into a more better product? Are you able, maybe from the water levels, you can be able to support the local community to be able to manage the water resources in a more sustainable way, to be able to ensure that we maintain environment? So we continue with a collaborative approach, trying to pull everybody that, look, we can co-create a solution. We can maybe think and do something together, from the one that is focused in planting of trees, to the one that is focused on maybe managing the water bodies, to the one that is more focused in waste and recycling, to the one that is focused in agribusiness. All of them, we try to say that there's something that you can co-create to be able to move towards one goal of bringing impact, bringing change towards the climate effect that we are all vulnerable as a country.
Thank you very much for that insightful message. Mohammed, what do you feel as Red Cross or as individuals? What can we do to get the corporates more involved?
The public-private partnership, it's sustainable, I would say, from my experience engaging in such scope of partnerships. My approach would be a bit different. I would say going the policy or advocacy way, in the sense that like for example, we have the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, which is an entity that it's more like an umbrella where we have the private sector into one particular body called the KEPSA. So maybe through the KEPSA and also government and also NGOs, community-based organizations, try to see how we can come up with an advocacy approach where these private companies, they get to understand their role in ensuring the communities are empowered when it comes to climate action, in the sense that that specific percentage of CSR internally as a company, or even maybe through KEPSA, they should have a specific policy, and I'm sure maybe it's there, but it's not being enhanced. They should have a specific policy where it says that particular company to benefit the local community where that company is stationed. I would give an example. I come from the coast. From the coast, we had this company called Base Titanium. It was a mining company. And I'm not marketing it, but it had a very good approach where it was empowering local community-based and youth-based and also women-based organizations, where youth-based would just apply for funding, and it was very easy to get that particular funding. Then they would do a climate, some sort of like a climate enterprise, where by the end of the day, they're getting money and also they are helping to combat climate issues. So I would say KEPSA, I'm not putting them on the spot, but entities like KEPSA, NGOs like us, Kenya Red Cross, community-based organizations, youth champions should really voice their issues out there and come up with some sort of like an approach where we advocate and make sure these policies are enhanced and followed through. So the companies to sort of empower the local communities where even their workers are coming from. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's a good idea. Now, the last part is, let's talk about action and not intention. What would you want to see from COP30 that gives us action? Charles.
Thanks. I think picking from the previous speakers, you will listen to FAO about loss and damage and the team that present about loss and damage fund. What we realize still right now, what countries like Africa are getting are more like technical assistance fund. The real money is still not flowing into Africa to help the real adaptation and building a resilient community. And I'm happy to say that KCV has been one of the, again, recently awarded by Global Adaptation Fund, where we're going to co-manage adaptation fund with Delphi and UNIDO for Kenya and Uganda. But where we are right now is still at the technical assistance. We are yet to go to seeing the real money flowing into climate finance. Again, we've seen a lot of discussions about infrastructure investments, but we are forgetting that there are small and medium enterprises that create solutions that are locally needed, that can be scaled, and requires urgently to be supported, again, to improve the climate space. So again, this area is still struggling. So as we go to COP30 and we're still talking about climate finance, we should be very emphatic that yes, we are seeing a bit of technical assistance, capacity building funds flowing into Africa, but there's still SMEs, local solutions that Africa themselves are coming up with that can be able to be supported, to be funded, to help us move very fast to become adaptable and resilient for this climate change.
Thank you very much. Muhammad, what do you feel?
2 points. The first point is on investing in research and innovation, especially in the angle of indigenous knowledge. Before all this came about, we had our forefathers who used to also have early warning systems. I heard of a community, I think, in the North Rift, where they would slaughter a goat, just observe their intestines, and from that observation, they would know if maybe in the coming month there will be rain or no rain, right? So that's indigenous knowledge. But we need to embed it with research and academic efforts for us to make sure we sort of like confirm it so that we are able to use such knowledge, we're able to leverage such knowledge, and also I'm sure the communities would be really happy to see their indigenous knowledge has been embedded into research actions and innovations. Secondly, I would say we need to invest a lot in dissemination and knowledge sharing when it comes to COP matters. I'm sure there is a youth back there, maybe in a certain vulnerable community, or even a Mama Mboga, who does not know even what COP stands for. Yeah, but we need to have these disseminations and knowledge sharing platforms where we are able to unpack that COP knowledge or ambiguous words into words that they could understand, so that their local voices could sort of build up towards the bigger COP30, COP29, COP50, who knows what, in terms of their local knowledge getting to those big audiences and influencing the decisions that are made there, because the decisions that are made there really factor how they proceed with their daily life and activities. Yeah, that's
Thank you very much. Now, as we get close to finishing, before I open to the floor any questions that you might have, I have a thought. I believe it could work. Why do we're sitting here in Kenya, the climate change problem is Kenyan. It's not a Brazilian problem. They have their own. Yes, climate change belongs to the whole world because we're all being affected. But we're sitting here saying, we don't think we'll get finance from COP30, or we may not get money from there. As Kenyans and proud Kenyans, we have a lot of resources in this country. Why don't we start looking? I'm very sorry, I'll keep saying KCB, because you told me that you don't give charity and you only lend when women can pay back. But I will say, KCB, I planted trees with KCB private banking. And we planted 1,000 trees in a school. Yes, we didn't get anything from the foundation, but we got from the company side. I'm saying, why don't we amplify that 1,000 times or 1,000,000 times and talk to our own people so that we get funding, so that we can take care of our own solutions? Why do we have to go outside? I mean, in South Africa, there's something they call kingdom funding, meaning from the churches. We have very rich churches in this country. Why don't we start finding our own solutions? I mean, the solutions are there. Why do we have to go outside to beg when we have it right here at our own doorstep? That will be my parting comment as I now open the floor to anyone who has questions for the panelists to answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that was really, really good. A lot of takeaways. Yes, and I still take note about KCB. But also I think one of the key aspects that I like that also came from this is how can we tap from the corporate in terms of for us KCB Foundation, we call it CSI, because it is more of an investment. And the truth of the matter is that we have, as much as we don't give charity, once you have the skills, there is those other products, we also receive CSI requests. And if it's a CSI request that is geared towards our thematic areas, for example, climate action, other thematic areas that align, water and sanitation, that one we consider it as a grant, not as a loan. And we have our CSI manager, she's somewhere here, Fatma. So you can always send those and we can be able to see if they align with those priorities. We are more than happy. And we are investing quite a big chunk of this in terms of the CSI initiative that also are contributing to bank's priority. And sustainability and climate action is a critical bank group, KCB group priority. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you want to say something, Charles?
Yeah, just to add to him that currently we've reached out to part of your foundation team, and there's a discussion that is currently going on how you can be able to co-create something, because we have one objective. Yeah.
I want to support your parting comment on self-sustainancy. Like from Mustard Seed Foundation, all that we've been able to do so far, it's either from friends, from families, you know, from my colleagues, and from corporates. Those are the people that have been able to target. And today I'm so lucky because another one is sitting right next to me. This one here. So I think we should encourage let's talk to our people, let's talk to our friends. The people who have so much, it's only that they don't know how to give or where to give. They don't know how to spend in terms of giving back to the society. But if communicated to, if given direction, they're really willing to assist. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I will just add on to that. We have planted 115,000 trees since May 2023 with school children. And I can tell you, only 40,000 of those trees are from corporates. The rest are from individuals who come to our website and they say, or they meet us somewhere, they say, I want to plant a tree, but I don't know how to. Or how can I plant just one tree? And we say, no, go to the website, donate your tree. When we reach 1,000 trees, we will go to a school and plant. How many Kenyans do we have here? We have millions. I think we can start helping ourselves, and I totally agree, Dr. Margaret. Thank you. Do you have something to say?
Yeah, I wanted to add on the aspect of CSR. So the other side of the coin is, as much as we are really emphasizing the private sector to give out CSR, but also I would recommend that the private sector should own that CSR in the sense that the community as well should take up ownership of that CSR. And we have a model within the Red Cross where you see, as much as the communities are vulnerable, for lack of a better word, sorry, but also the communities have resources. It may not be financial, but knowledge, right? So as you're giving out CSR, try to have a balance where the communities are also investing in that CSR. So they could be investing maybe by their efforts or knowledge or commitments. So as much as maybe you are giving 10 million for a tree planting a project within community A, but also what is the community bringing in that on that table to make sure that particular project by the end of 5 years it's impactful. It's not a matter of just signing a check for a CSR, then we wait for next year to do a CSR, then maybe when KEPSA or any authority comes around, or even KRA, you guys are like, we've given out CSR. No, you should also take ownership of that CSR. Make sure there is accountability in it, follow up with the community, make sure they're on their toes in terms of making it sustainable. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much. Now, are there any more questions?
Actually, it's not a question. Once again, good afternoon. Once again, I'm George Washiri. Madam, I love the name Rodriguez from Fast and Furious. I want to say, you've said you have 150,000 trees.
115 we planted.
Oh,
115.
15.
115.
Oh, very nice. We as Green Warriors 237, we are not that old. We are only 1.5 years. And we are actually advocating on how to plant trees in our estates. Because we believe when you give responsibility to one person to plant 200 trees, that is a lot of task. So what we normally do, before we go to the tree planting site, we go like 1 week before. We give the training to the community, to the residents, to the caretaker or the house owner. Each house to plant 1 tree, but we normally provide those trees. We don't have the tree nursery, but we normally get those trees from well-wishers. Like we don't have time, and actually 2024 to 2025, we were awarded by Red Cross when they were celebrating the 60th anniversary, and for giving back to the community by being solution to the climate crisis. And what we normally do, we look people like you who have more seedlings to help us. But so far, we have a site that we have given by the county government for our good job that we've been doing to the community, because since last year up to now, we have done 10,000 trees. And I normally mobilize university, organization, including Red Cross Tika, and also the Scouts. And we are looking forward to have our tree nursery, whereby when we want to plant trees, we don't need to look for seedlings from other well-wishers or from other sponsors. So for that, I think I'm going to align with you, and through that, the sponsorship of the trees, and we are going to have our own, so that we can also, because our mission is to make sure that we are going to sponsor those trees. We are going to give those trees to the community, because since Vika is the center industrial town, we want to turn it to a forest by planting trees when you come together, because when great mind comes together, great things happen. Asante.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Faria Ahmed from Zamzam Foundation. I'm just going to add on to what he said. He said Thika. Actually, Zamzam Foundation, we're thinking of doing this a constituency, like Kamkunji constituency, Kilimani constituency, like you go to Thika. But for us to do this, everybody's planting trees, yes. We need to come together and do a collaboration, whereby if Zamzam is planting in Kamkunji, he's planting in Thika, somebody else maybe is planting in another area. We bring the resources together, work as a team, and collaborate together.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Any more questions?
Madam Susan, mine is not a question. Oh, good evening, Kwanza. Watu wameboeka. Why are you so bored? Are you okay? All right. So once again, I'm Edwin from We Don't Have Time. Mine is to give you flowers, because I know maybe we'll get out of this conference without someone telling you whatever you're doing with the kids is so important. Because I remember when I was in primary school, there was a project called Food for Future. It used to give us knowledge about planting kales organically. So we used to be excited to get out of class so that we can go water our kales, take care of them, and see how they're developing. I believe that this is the same sense that you're giving the children you're working with. Like they look forward to go look at their trees, see how their tree is doing, and it gives them a sense of responsibility. And with this, they'll grow up knowing what climate change is. They'll grow up knowing all this sustainability. They'll grow up knowing the importance of growing trees. And we will have a very sustainable future, which is coming. And also, your model, I would love people to really adopt your model, where you tell people it's not only conservation, but you get something out of the conservation. Because you won't come tell me to stop planting my maize and start planting trees without any benefits. But for your model, at least you're giving them something like the edible forest, like they'll get something after a while. So this gives someone the morale and the psyche to do it, because you're not doing it the traditional way. So thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep encouraging the vulnerable in the community. And as we've been told, that supporting the vulnerable is not charity, it's strategy. So thank you so much. We don't have time.
Thank you.
I do have a question, because it ties in with innovation and partnerships. I think with local innovations and partnerships, one of the challenges I've seen is scalability. How do we ensure that we have scalability in terms of whatever innovations we have tied with climate adaptation and resilience? I don't know that we think about money in terms of scalability, but I want to know beyond the money, what else can we do that local innovations and partnerships can scale their innovations
within maybe the networks outside or even just with startups, what ways can they grow that they can scale and maybe be less over-reliant on funding, but having their own resilience, yeah.
Which of you would like to answer, or both of you?
Yeah, so I think the issue of scalability, from me, I can say one, we have some innovations that were surfaced or brought through grants. Some of them, they ended up staying too long at the grants level, and they lost focus in terms of trying to push their products or innovations into the market. Because they were receiving grants, so they became too comfortable because they could pay themselves some salaries, they could still maybe run the operations through grants. So it's like the innovators lost a bit of focus on how can they push their products into the market. Maybe you've come up with a product that is Kenya, and you realize maybe the target market for Kenya is maybe small. How do you think that, how can you think that this product can be moved to Uganda, can be moved to Tanzania, can be moved to Rwanda, or maybe in other African country? So that has been a bit challenge where you find some innovations fail to scale. But again, what we urge is that still innovations can still go through investor readiness programs that try to really build entrepreneurial skills to the innovators. You can be an engineer that have sat in a lab and came up with a very good innovation. But you remember you are a professional engineer and you lack maybe the entrepreneurial skills, like things like go-to-market skills you don't have, how to probably size your market for the product that you're selling, you still don't have. So if you go through investment readiness programs, which I think currently are available in Kenya, that you can reach out to, you go and sit there for quite a while, they'll be able to shape your thinking and make you see that this your innovation, the level of scale that you're going to reach maybe is beyond beyond maybe Kenya, maybe you move in the wider Africa, to be able to reach the right number to sustain that innovation in the market. Yeah, so it has been there. We've seen some innovations that have failed. We've seen some innovations that has refused to scale, because probably the approach that was taken at the early stage was not correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, you want to add something?
One thing that I've learned within this innovation ecosystem is not all innovations need to scale. Some innovations need to fail for you to learn, right? The aspects that we need to consider when working with the innovations are first, and this is something that internally we've come to learn as an organization when we're working with community innovators, is commercialization. We need to embed commercialization at the start of that innovation so that the innovator would know this is how I would sustain my innovation for scalability. Two, an innovation is not an innovation if it's not community-centric. It needs to be community-centric. The user pain points need to be embedded from the start. So while designing a solution and for it to scale, we must make sure the community pain points or the customer pain points are embedded from the start so that the community would have a very huge acceptance of that particular solution. And that's now scaling. Lastly, it's contextualization. When you are designing an innovation, you need to make sure that particular innovation, it can be contextualized in any setting. So if an innovation can only work, let's say, for example, in a refugee context and cannot work in maybe another context, it may not be sustainable. But if an innovation can be contextualized in different contexts, there's a very high percentage of scaling that. And I love AI models, because with AI models, it depends on how you train that particular model. If you train that particular model to be able to change based on context, I think sustainability of that particular solution, it's very high, it has a high chance. Thank you.
Thank you. In the essence of time, we have to end. Unfortunately, KCB, we are coming to see you. No, I know, I'm coming to see you in your office. You said it's not just about grants, so we will come and see you. My panelists, thank you very much. I would like to ask you to say just a very few words as your parting words as we finish this meeting. So whoever wants to start, please go ahead.
Okay, so first is to appreciate Red Cross, KCB Foundation, the Switch TV that have organized for the event. I think it's a very good forum for us to just to hear from different perspectives, the humanitarian, the private sector, the public sector, on how we are approaching one common elephant, that is the climate change. So again, I'm sure all of us has a takeaway that we're going to get from here. I've seen Susan has given each of us a tree. I think beyond that, there'll be a lot of information that we are going to carry home. One key thing is that this sector requires collaboration and co-creation. We are approaching a sector that requires very innovative thinking, not doing things as usual. So it is good that whatever network that you've been able to pick from here, let's build collaboration, let's meet maybe and just think what can we do together to be able to create a solution that can help our country be able to build adaptation and community resilience towards climate change. Thank you.
Okay, I think all has been said, but just to add, for innovations to thrive out there, we need to invest in or embed indigenous community knowledge when designing them. Thank you.
Okay, my parting words will be something we do as Kenyans, and we do it so often. In the spirit of Harambee, let's plant trees. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our lovely panel. Photo, yeah? Okay, fantastic. A round of applause. Ay, uongo. Okay. Very good. In the spirit of Harambee, let's do what? Mpande miti, exactly. We are coming to a close, and allow me to just mix up the protocol kidogo as we finalize. So we are joined by my boss who happens to be here with us today. His name is Mr. Joe Mbalu. Joe Mbalu is the Acting Deputy Secretary General, Kenya Red Cross Programs. He's joined us just to give closing remarks on behalf of our senior management. Thank you very much, lovely panel. He's joined us to give closing remarks. Then we'll do vote of thanks from head of IT. Then we'll have Sobira do that, and then partners, a representative from the partners. Then we will close. I hope everyone has gotten a seedling, and we are promising Susan that we are going to plant. Please share a picture once you have planted. Use the catchphrases today. Tag Susan, that is Revitalize Conservation, and she will be able to pick it up. And then 1 year down the line, once we come back, please do the same. So then we can see how many of you, we are moving away from planting and more of growing trees. Oh, mshaanza kupiga picha? Okay. Please, my boss, I have been doing well, I promise. Guys, munakubaliana na mimi have been doing well, eh? Unajua hivi ndivyo mtu utafuta promotion majamaa, eh? Let's talk kidogo. Have I been a good MC? Yes, karibu sana mdosi wangu.
Thank you very much, Cecilia. Good evening, everybody. As you've been told, my name is Joe Mbalu, and I am honored to stand before you right now as you conclude this very important deliberation session. I will start by first apologizing for our absence here. As you are discussing the topic, and just to maybe reconfirm to you how realistic what you're discussing and how critical it is. We've been engaged the whole day with the humanitarian network on an appeal that we have launched through the Red Cross movement for 2.1 million Kenyans that are currently on the throes of drought. And we are looking at those numbers growing quite significantly if the forecast that we have and the performance so far is anything to go by. So there is nothing that gives me more pleasure than being here as on behalf of the Kenya Red Cross, on behalf of the leadership of this country, and especially on behalf of all of you as private sector, as NGOs, as government, as concerned citizens of this country and of the world, on the sidelines of COP30 and the very serious deliberations. I've been taken through a very quick update of the issues that you have deliberated, you've prosecuted here today, and I'm very happy, especially for me, and I know there's been very many catchwords. For me, the agreement by the parties seated here today around collaboration and not competition, and the complementarities that we bring to this field and what needs to happen, especially in the face of what is happening. As we discuss the agendas of COP30, and also appreciate the very significant move by some of the global leaders to get out of the conversations of climate change. And generally, as we sit as humanitarians, also accept that the solidarity, the global solidarity towards those that are vulnerable and towards countries such as ours in the global south that are suffering from especially the effects of climate change, then that solidarity is reducing. And I liked part of what Madam Rodriguez was and the panel here were discussing around what we can do as Kenyans, as those that are affected, and as those that have a responsibility to make life better. So I wanted to appreciate all the organizations, all the work that you're doing especially. No one can thank you enough for even the little that it is that you think your organization, your foundation is doing, and they're quite impressive acts of what people are doing with the local and available resources that we have. Even as we get one united voice to be able to lobby, to advocate for better financing, for more thinking towards anticipatory action and preparedness and financing that and the innovations that are needed. So we do not take this for granted, and I will be the first one to congratulate all of you. I want to really appreciate those that have made this possible. I know my colleague will be coming to give thanks, but please allow me to appreciate KCB Foundation and the work that you're doing and for making this possible. Revitalize conservation. The Commander AP, congratulations, Madam Commander Dagoretti, and the work that you're doing with Mustard Seed Foundation, Africa Development Bank, FAO and UN. I know IFRC were here earlier. I met them in one of the meetings. Zamzam Foundation, Family Group Foundation, Women in Renewable Energy, congratulations. Kenya Climate Ventures, and I really want to appreciate our proud child on Children with Nature and our Guinness Book of World Record winner, and we wish her the best as she goes to run for another one. So congratulations, and I'm hoping that as you have also resolved in this sitting, that this is not just talk, this is things that we are discussing that we very firmly believe in, and the cooperation, and that will be the best outcome of this event, that then the networking, the peer-to-peer learning that is happening as we exchange knowledge and ideas and practice and challenges that will proceed beyond COP30 and beyond today, and to be able to help us be able to deal with this crisis, whether or not some few people, some few partners do not believe in this. We understand and we know as the people working in the ground how bad the situation really is and how bad it can get if we all give up and give up on the solidarity and the responsibility that we have for humanity. So on behalf of Kenya Red Cross and the leadership, asanteni sana, and I'm hoping that you have a very nice evening, and that we will continue then working together on this very critical issue. Asanteni sana.
Thank you very much, DSG, for the remarks, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. We will be happy to let you go, but feel free to stay with us until the very end. For the vote of thanks, I am happy to welcome Captain Sobira. There's a reason why she's a captain. I keep on messing with her, but Sobira is here on behalf of us as organizers to just appreciate all of you for being here. She's a lovely lady. She loves smiling just like me. So without further ado, karibu sana Sobira. I clap for Sobira, you guys.
You guys see me? I'm taller than you think. Can I have a... just so that you can see my face. Hello, everyone. Oh, wow. I was here for the last bit of the afternoon, but there's so much I've learned. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet most of you today, to learn so much from our moderators, our panelists. It's been a lovely day, has it not? I'm not seeing enough head nods, has it not? Nice, so my job here is simple. I'm supposed to give a vote of thanks to our partners. Mr. Joe did my job for me. So first and foremost, for those who are believers, allow me to thank Almighty God for us being here, for this collaboration, for you making it here, for everything we've learned, right? I think we need to give some time to think about the role management has played with this event. If it wasn't for their leadership, their guidance, their push for us to make sure this event was a success, we might not have pulled it off as well as it has come out to be. So that's management from Kenya Red Cross Society, from Icha where I sit, and also from Switch TV. So that's our ED, Safia Verji, Mr. Tariq Twaha, who's heading our digital teams, and of course, Mr. Zachary Masiani, where's he gone? And Mr. Peter Mulgore as well. For our partners, allow me to go over the list of partners I have again, just to show you the gratitude that we have for you. So KCB Foundation, CBM Global, Zamzam Foundation, Kenya Climate Ventures, Revitalize Conservation, Seedballs Kenya, some of our very precious contributors. The IRC, the MSF, we don't have time, both Kenya and Sweden offices, Wire Kenya and Canada, FAO Kenya, Mustard Seed Green Foundation, and to the team that made it possible for us here today. Of course, a round of applause, please, for our organizing team. A bit louder, please, for our organizing team. So our organizing team was led by the partnerships team, so Fiona, Fifi, we have Joy in the room as well. And then from the Switch TV team, of course, this would not have been possible without Sabrina and Scovia, our favorite. So thank you so much for working so hard to make sure today was possible. And yeah, for the goodies. And of course, our lovely, lovely, lovely MC, Cess. It's been so lovely. Thank you so much. But before I leave, allow me to just call Mr. Frederick Mwangangi to give us a vote of thanks for the partners.
Thank you so much. I think this is vote of thanks of another vote of thanks, another vote of thanks. So I don't know what number of vote of thanks I'm giving, but I think today it has been a very wonderful day. Look at your neighbor and tell them, wow, we made it. Less talking, more what? Action. So I think really I've been privileged to be here just to really appreciate each one of us, not for attending today, but from when this specific thought was conceptualized. Because there is a lot of work that went into planning of this, including a meeting that we had yesterday past working hours, and then they were still left to continue planning. So because of that, we can only get this dedication because we care, not for ourselves, but for the future. And we were here discussing the future, being the children, being the young people, being that woman who is beyond the tarmac, that lady from the El Moro, that young man from the Godia community, that person who is near Kainuk. So really, really feel appreciated as partners. And I think the list of partners has already been shared. It's only that it has not been read all. And you know, sometimes we come out of these functions and people will say, why were we not mentioned? So just quickly, the partners that we are really appreciating and really thanking for being here, we, of course, KCB Foundation and KCB Bank, you know, we start with ourselves. Zamzam, the great work that you are doing, both in Somali, both in Kenya. Kenya Climate Ventures, very powerful work that you're doing. Revitalize conservation, really, really, really great work that you're doing. Seedball, Kenya Red Cross, ICHA, Switch TV, IFRC. We also don't forget CBM Global, IRC, FAO, WIRE, Kenya and Canada. We don't have time. You know, when I heard we don't have time, I thought it was lunchtime. It's an organization. Don't have time. I was also informed about Kenya and Sweden, Plan International, Oxfam, Master Seed Green Foundation, and any other person we may have missed. Feel appreciated and let this conversation not stop from here. If we truly talked about collaboration, being together, let us make that a reality, because it is this next step that is going to actualize all the good words that we spoke here. Thank you so much on behalf of all the partners as KCB Foundation, as the organizing team. We really, really appreciate. Let us do it, and we can do it. All the best.
Thank you so much. As we wrap up, we have put on screen a QR code on your screens, and we're going to leave this here with you. Please use the Menti. Do you want to project it? Are we projecting now, or we can leave the Menti open for people to interact with it? What would you prefer, Zach? Okay, so you can just scan this. It's to provide us with feedback on some of the things you think we should have improved on, some of the things that were your key takeaways, and maybe a thing or two that you'd want us to take note of as we move on to COP30. If you, well, I truly believe everybody can scan, but if you can't, just go to menti.com, MENTI.com, and then input this password. Is it a password? Yes. A code, yes. 89 46 90 60. 89 46 90 60. And then please let us know what you think. Thank you so much. That has been my day. And I look forward to meeting each and every one of you in your next lives. If not, let's partner, let's talk, and we'll be happy to support you. There is tea. Please ensure you grab some tea. Ensure you network, get to know who is in the room. You never know, maybe, just maybe, we can come up with the next climate solution. Who knows? Thank you so much, and have yourself a lovely evening. Goodbye. Hello. For the planning team, kindly remain behind. I know tumechoka lakini planning committee naomba mbaki nyuma. Asanteni.